Hello students, welcome to today's video presentation on prepositions. Make sure you have a piece of paper out and that you are ready to write Cornell notes or a bubble map about all of the information that I go over in this video. I will be checking on Monday and you will be getting a homework stamp if you complete your notes properly. So I need definitions, examples, commonly used words, practice questions. All of the following need to be in your Cornell notes or bubble map. And all of the information can be found in your Holt handbooks on pages 62 through 66. So let's begin. What is a preposition? Well, if you remembered, a few weeks ago we already went over prepositions when I hung colored pieces of paper all across the room and you had to describe where they were and you had to write sentences about them. We're simply revisiting this concept because I want to make sure that you understand it very clearly because it still seems like some of you guys are still a little confused, and this is part of the unit on grammar chapter 3 that we're doing now. So this is a great time to revisit this concept and to make sure that you truly understand what prepositions are. A preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or a pronoun and another word in the sentence. So let's look at an example. Your math book is underneath your coat, Benny. So in this sentence, the word underneath is the preposition because it shows the relationship between the book and the coat. The fact is that the preposition underneath shows the relationship of coat to book. It shows you that the book is underneath your coat. So let's take out the coat and see if the book is really under there. And it sure is. There's your math book, Benny. Make sure you keep all your things organized. All right, let's look at some silly examples. Here's the first picture here. All right, what can we say about the apple in relation to the paper? Well, the apple is on the paper. And let's look at the next example. What about the apple and the coffee? These are kind of silly examples, by the way. The apple is inside the coffee. Let's look at the third example. This one's my favorite because what's on the apple? Well, there's a baby. The apple is under the baby. And last example, here's a lion and here's an apple. And the apple is between the lion's paws. Now let's think about what the prepositions are in every single sentence. On the paper, inside the coffee, under the baby, between the lion's paws. All of the prepositions here are underlined in purple. So here are some examples of prepositions. All right, now let's look at some commonly used prepositions. You may write all of these down if you wish, or you can simply refer back to the piece of paper that I handed out a few weeks ago that you should have in your binder still about all of the commonly used prepositions in English language. Aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, among, around, at, before, behind, below. Beneath, beside, between, beyond, by, down, during, except, for, from. In, into, like, of, off, on, over, past, since, through, throughout. Till, to, toward, under, underneath, until, up, upon, with, within, without. And here are some compound prepositions. According to, in addition to, aside from, next to, in place of, in spite of. These are all of the commonly used prepositions in the English language. Make sure that you write down at least 10 of these on your piece of paper because for the next activity, you are responsible for writing down sentences using prepositional phrases. And you must have a good selection of prepositions that you can use in your examples. So I want you to tell me where the apple is on the next slide. Look at where all the apples are on this slide and write down some example sentences. You can pause the video right now and write down some example sentences. Let's look at the first apple on the top. You can say the apple is in the tree. The preposition is in. Perhaps there's an apple behind the tree. The preposition is behind. You don't have to have the exact same sentences as me, obviously, but you do need to use prepositions in every single sentence. All right, the apple is between the tree branches. Between is our preposition. The apple is hanging from the tree. The preposition is from. The apple is near the tree. The preposition is near. The apple is beneath the tree. Here's the preposition, beneath. And finally, the apple is against the tree. And the preposition is against. Let's move on. The prepositional phrase. What is a prepositional phrase? A prepositional phrase is made up of a preposition plus a object of the preposition. All right, I'm sorry for that interruption with the announcement, but we're going to move on. So it's made up of a preposition plus the object of the preposition. So what does that mean? We already know that a preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or a pronoun and another word in the sentence. So things like above, between, under, underneath, from, in. Those are all prepositions. We just learned about that. The object of the preposition, however, is how the prepositional phrase ends. So basically, the preposition always has at least one noun or a pronoun as an object. After the preposition, there's an object. This noun or pronoun is called the object of the preposition. So let's look at some examples. The pile of dry leaves had grown much larger. So in this sentence, of dry leaves is our prepositional phrase. And leaves is the object of the preposition. Of what? Of leaves, of dry leaves. Here's our next example. This food bowl is for cats and dogs. So in this example, for cats, dogs is our prepositional phrase. For whom or for what? Cats, dogs. So therefore, I circled the objects of the preposition. So sometimes your prepositional phrase can have more than one object of the preposition. In this second example, we have two things circled. We have two objects of the preposition. Here's another example. Brian had to decide between USC and UCLA. Way to go, Brian. Those are both great schools, but I would definitely choose UCLA because it is clearly the better school. I mean, come on, it's the best school in the world. So, between USC, UCLA is the prepositional phrase. Between what? USC, UCLA. That's why between is the preposition, and USC, UCLA are the objects of the preposition. So once again, we have two objects of the preposition here. So really, in a prepositional phrase, the last noun, the word that the prepositional phrase ends with, like a noun or a pronoun, those are usually called the objects of the preposition. All right, let's move on to the next concept, preposition or adverb. So sometimes you can have a phrase that might sound like a preposition, but it's actually an adverb, and vice versa. So we're going to see how to differentiate or find the difference between what a preposition is and what an adverb is. Let's look at these four examples. Clouds gathered above us. In this sentence, above us is a prepositional phrase because above is the preposition and us is the object of the preposition. So in this case, this is definitely a prepositional phrase. Above us is a prepositional phrase because we have the object, us. The object of the preposition above us is us. Let's look at another sentence that's very similar but kind of different. Clouds gathered above. In this sentence, we have the word above, but it's not a preposition because there is no object. There's no above what or above whom. There's no object, and that's why it's just an adverb because it describes the verb gathered. Here's another sentence. Meet me outside the gym tomorrow morning. The word outside the gym, or that phrase, is actually the prepositional phrase because you have outside, which is a preposition. Outside what? The gym. So that means gym becomes the object of the preposition, which means this is a prepositional phrase. Let's look at the same exact sentence, but a slightly different version of it. Meet me outside tomorrow morning. All right? So outside now is not a preposition, it's an adverb because there is no object. Outside what? Outside whom? Doesn't tell me. So that means outside is simply modifying the verb meet. And that's why it's an adverb. All right, students, that is the end of our presentation. I hope that you wrote down great notes on your piece of paper and that you have a wonderfully completed bubble map or Cornell notes to show me on Monday morning. I will see you on Monday, and I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope that you finish your worksheet and that you read 30 minutes every single day and that you finish your notes before class. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on Monday.